No soap radio. It's a prank that consists of making a punchline at the end of the joke that has no relation to the body of the joke, while the comedian pretends that it does by laughing. And if the other person starts laughing along, the comedian asks him to explain the joke, making him feel embarrassed. Anti-humor. It's a type of alternative humor that causes laughter because of the surprise generated by the lack of a punchline or joke at the end. A famous example of this is the Shaggy Dog story, which consists of telling an extremely long story without delivering a punchline at the end, which leaves the audience confused at first. Sarcasm. It's characterized by saying something but meaning the opposite in a witty way, and it's usually used to express disdain, mockery, or criticism. It's understood through the tone of voice and the context in which it's used, as focusing only on the actual words may not be sufficient to understand the underlying irony. Sarcasm is mostly used in informal conversations. Slapstick. Also called physical comedy. It's usually full of physical violence, both real and simulated, with the intent of creating laughter in the audience. This type of humor involves the creation of embarrassing, painful, or humiliating situations for those involved, and it's one of the only types of humor that can be enjoyed solely through vision, given its physical nature. White humor. It's the most innocent type of humor, as it's free of offensive content, and it doesn't require mockery of someone or any form of humor that may hurt other people's feelings. It's mostly targeted towards kids and teenagers, as there are neither insults nor bad intentions. Dry humor. It's a type of inexpressive humor, which consists of saying something funny without using body language and delivering the jokes in a straightforward style with a serious intonation. Its best characteristics are the brevity, precision, and wit of the observations, which contrast the lack of emotion of the comedian. Black humor. Black humor is characterized by the addressing of inappropriate or sensitive topics, such as death, disability, or violence, with the goal of producing laughter through emotional shock. This type of humor requires great sensitivity from the comedian and knowledge about the context of where and when the joke is said, as it's really easy to cross the line into straight-up insults. A big advantage of black humor is that it can lighten up difficult topics and reduce the pain they cause. Satire. It's the use of humor and exaggeration to criticize and expose a situation, and it's usually used in contemporary politics to explain social injustices through irony. Satire can come from actual disapproval from the comedian, or it can be simply used as a way to have fun. Surreal. It's characterized by its lack of logic and coherence, and it can be one of the hardest types of humor to use, as the comedian needs to find a balance between total nonsense and surreal humor. Green humor. It's sexual humor, both implicit and explicit, that has a vulgar nature and bad taste, which creates laughter from embarrassment. Of course, the most explicit jokes are targeted towards an adult audience, and it's one of the most universal types of humor, as it can be understood by every social class. Grotesque humor. This one is a visual type of humor, and it's mainly used by cartoons, which can more easily distort and exaggerate characters' features to make them ugly and horrifying. This type of humor invokes many emotions at once, making the audience feel both disgusted and entertained at the same time. Reaffirming and autodestructive. These two are both types of self-irony, but they have different meanings. Reaffirming humor arises from the need to laugh at oneself in a healthy way, especially in adverse situations, to lighten up the mood. Autodestructive humor, on the other hand, is self-deprecation or used as a punishment for oneself, and it can be a sign of low self-esteem. Observational. It's based on common aspects of everyday life, and it's one of the most used types of humor in stand-up comedy. The comedian makes an observation about something that is common enough to be familiar to their audience, but not commonly discussed, usually using phrases such as, "Have you ever noticed that?" Insult comedy. Insult comedy consists mainly of offensive insults, usually directed at other performers or at the audience, especially toward hecklers. It can be both improvised and structured, with comedians holding what are called roasting sessions.
No queen too early. The queen is so powerful that if you move her out early, she'll be threatened to get smashed and you'll need to move her again. For example, in this position, the queen gets hit by the knight, and then it gets hit again by another knight. You move the queen multiple times and let your opponent develop their pieces. This is dumb. Don't do that. Don't move the same piece twice in the opening. If you move the same piece twice, what the hell you doing with your life? Develop quick, control the scene, don't waste your turns, be bold and mean. Anyways, if you move a piece twice, you're not developing quickly enough. Unless you're Hikura Nakamura, stick to this principle. Develop quickly. Develop or die, said some grandmaster probably. This principle means you should get your bishops, knights and queen off the back rank, as well as castle to connect your rooks as soon as possible. When you do, your king is super safe, and your pieces are ready to smash the opponent's king. Avoid double pawns. Double pawns happen when two pawns of the same color are on the same file. When this occurs, the pawns can't defend each other and are very prone to attack. It's generally a good idea to avoid double pawns, and even though people have attempted to make the legendary tripled pawns, things usually don't end well for them. Avoid isolated pawns. Isolated pawns are pawns that have no pawns nearby to protect it. These kinds of pawns are very easy to kill, and usually big targets for your opponent. A strategy to get rid of isolated pawns is to sacrifice it to ruin your opponent's pawn structure, and then capture them back later. Endgame king is valuable. The king is pretty much a loser in the opening. However, in the endgame it becomes a god, and you should bring it out as soon as possible. In this position, white is completely winning, because white's king is much more active, and will very soon capture these three black pawns. Castle before move 10. While you can technically wait till move 69 to castle and deliver a castle checkmate.
Check here in castles.
Wait, I've never even seen this game. What?
Don't try that at home. You'll most likely get f***ed and be delivered home in an ambulance. Just castle early, and get checkmated like Magnus.
No.
Rooks go behind passed pawns. If you have a passed pawn, put a rook behind it. This makes sure that the pawn is protected while the rook remains active and can do other things.
I'm not sure I can take them all.
Don't worry, bro. I got your back.
Bishops open, knights closed. Bishops are better in open positions because they can control squares and attack from afar. When they're in closed positions, however, they become pretty useless because they're blocked by their own pawns. Knights are the opposite. They move slowly like snails in open positions. However, in closed positions, they can hop around and go to places no other pieces can. Backward pawns. Backward pawns are pawns that are left undefended because its brothers have been pushed forward, or captured. Similar to isolated pawns, this kind of pawn usually becomes a target for your opponent. Avoid moving pawns in front of castled king. Pawns are there to protect your king. If you push pawns in front of your king at the wrong time, your king will get smashed by your opponent's pieces. Always play en passant when given the chance. En passant is not just a chess move, it's a way of life. In this chess match, Bobby was faced with an important decision. Should he checkmate his opponent, or play en passant? Being an absolute king, Bobby chose en passant, and with that, he sacrificed the game. Don't trade bishops for knights. As a rule of thumb, bishops are usually better than knights because they are long-range pieces, and can sometimes unexpectedly f*** your opponent from afar. In this position, even though you can trade your bishop for the knight, creating double pawns for your opponent, you probably shouldn't. Knights before bishops. It is generally better to move knights first because you can pretty much bet money that the knights will go here or here. Bishops, however, have a lot more options, so you should wait and decide later. Knights are the best blockaders of pawns. Knights are really good with blocking pawns. This is because the knight naturally controls the defending squares of that pawn, so it's harder for other pawns to support it. In this situation, for example, black can't push b5 because it'll get captured. Don't play hope chess. Hope chess is when you play chess and you hope your opponent will make the move you want, or somehow screw up. Don't do that. Instead, you should always imagine that your opponent will always play the best move and plan accordingly.
I hope he doesn't see me.